My wife secretly married her boss during our divorce, then stole $250, $0 from our joint account and claimed our house was hers to avoid paying me. Now she's threatening legal action to keep everything. Was I naive to trust her? Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife cheated on me, stole from us, and then turned around to lie her way out of everything. Honestly, the whole thing feels like a bad movie, but it's my life, and I'm just trying to get through it. The craziest part, the moment I found out, I swear, I felt like I was hit by a truck. It all started with little signs, things I ignored at first because I didn't want to believe the worst. But then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Her name's Amanda. We've been married for about 5 years, and at first everything seemed fine, normal even. She was a little bitchy sometimes, but that was just her personality. She's always been sharp-tongued, quick to argue, and she loved throwing around little insults like they were nothing. Still, I thought that was just her way of joking around. I never suspected how deep her lies would go. It was about 3 months ago when I started noticing her phone acting weird. At first, I just thought she was texting her friends or maybe a coworker, but then I realized she was deleting messages constantly. She'd leave her phone face down, and if I tried to look, she'd get defensive, say I was paranoid or accusing her of something she wasn't doing. Honestly, I was just confused. I mean, she'd always been a little secretive about her phone, but I didn't think it was anything serious. Just her usual bitchy attitude, right? But then I caught her one night, late, sneaking out of the bedroom. I was half asleep, but I woke up when I heard her door creak open. I followed her down the hall, and she was just about to get into her car. I confronted her right there, asked where she was going. She snapped at me, told me I was overreacting, that she was just going out to get some air or see her friend Lisa. But her face was tense, her eyes darted around, and she was acting so guilty that I couldn't ignore it anymore. The next day, I decided to check her phone. I didn't want to invade her privacy, but I felt something was off. I guess I had my suspicions, or maybe my gut was just telling me to look. When I finally got into her messages, I saw it, dozens of texts exchanged with her boss, Mark. The messages weren't just friendly. They were flirtatious, suggestive, full of innuendos. They talked about meeting up after hours, about how much they needed each other. I saw plans they made to meet at his place, and my stomach just dropped. I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I trusted, was cheating on me with her boss. The man she worked for, the man who's supposed to be professional but clearly was. I felt sick. I never thought Amanda would do something like this, especially not with someone who was supposed to be her superior. It was like everything I believed in was crumbling. I didn't sleep that night, just stared at the phone, replaying those messages over and over. I felt betrayed, angry, and utterly stupid for not seeing the signs sooner. The worst part, I also found out she had been lying about her whereabouts during the days she was at work. She'd come home late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize and acting distant. I started noticing money missing from our joint account, small amounts at first, then suddenly a huge withdrawal of $250, $0. Turns out, she'd been siphoning money over the past few months, hiding it in secret accounts. When I confronted her about that, she just shrugged and told me I was paranoid, that I didn't trust her. But I knew better now. I knew she'd been planning something, and I was just too blind to see it. I remember the day I found out she married Mark. It was during our divorce proceedings. I got a letter from some lawyer. Apparently, she went ahead and married him secretly during the divorce process. She claimed she'd been free from me, that she'd moved on, but I knew better. She'd been lying from the start. She'd married him, stolen money, and somehow managed to turn our house, our home, into her own. She claimed it was hers to avoid paying me anything, and she's threatening legal action to keep everything. I feel like I've been punched in the stomach all over again. Honestly, I don't even know how I'm still standing. The betrayal runs so deep that sometimes I wonder if I'll ever recover. I trusted her, believed in us, And now I see that she was just using me as a stepping stone to her new life with Mark. All the promises, all the "I love yous," they were just words. She's a liar, a cheat, and now she's trying to take everything I worked for. It's like I was just a pawn in her game. And the worst part, I don't even feel surprised anymore, just numb. After I found out about her marriage to Mark, everything changed. The shock didn't wear off, it just sat there heavy like a stone pressing down on my chest. I kept replaying the moments, trying to find some sign I missed, some clue that could have prepared me for this. But there was nothing, just her cold, calculated deception. The money she stole, the house she claimed was hers, everything was a calculated move, and I was left to pick up the pieces. That night I stayed up until dawn, scrolling through her messages again, trying to piece everything together. It was like watching a bad movie, except I was the star and it wasn't entertainment. It was my life crumbling around me. I felt angry, betrayed, and honestly pretty damn stupid. How could I have been so naive? I was always the cautious one, the one who thought I had everything under control. Turns out I was just blind to what was right in front of me. The next morning I decided I couldn't just sit there and do nothing. I needed to confront her face to face. I wanted to hear her lie, her excuse, her bullshit, so I called her at work. Her voice on the phone was icy, dismissive, like I was bothering her. I told her I knew about the marriage, the affair, the money. Her response: she told me I was crazy, that I'd lost my mind, and that I was just paranoid. She said I was accusing her of stuff she didn't do, that I was overreacting because I was insecure. That's when I snapped. I told her I had all the proof, that I'd seen the messages, the bank statements, everything. I told her I knew she married Mark behind my back and that she'd stolen our money. Her reaction: she laughed, said I was imagining things, that I was just jealous because she was finally happy. She called me pathetic and told me I was wasting my time. That's when I realized she was just trying to gaslight me, make me doubt what I knew was true. I was furious, but I also felt a deep sadness. I'd loved her once, believed in us, and now I was just a victim of her lies. The betrayal hit me hard, and I couldn't help but think about all the moments I missed, all the signs I ignored. She was so good at hiding her true self, bitchy, manipulative, and utterly ruthless. I wondered how many other people she'd lied to, how many other men she'd played. Over the next few days, I started digging into her financials. I found out she drained our joint account, which had been our safety net, and transferred that $250, $0 into accounts I didn't even know existed. She'd been planning this for a while. The house, our house, she claimed it was hers now, even though we bought it together. She's threatening legal action to keep everything, to freeze my assets, to make me look like the bad guy. I feel like I'm caught in a nightmare I can't wake up from. Meanwhile, Amanda's attitude is just as bitchy as ever. She's dismissive, sarcastic, and keeps lying her ass off. She insists she's the victim, that I'm the one who's crazy, that I shouldn't trust anyone. She's trying to turn everyone against me, her family, her friends, saying I'm just jealous and paranoid, but I see through her. I know she's a liar, a thief, a manipulator. She's trying to control everything, and she's not going to stop until she gets what she wants. Honestly, I don't even know what to do anymore. I've hired a lawyer, but she's already playing dirty. She's threatening to sue me for custody of the house, claiming I'm an unfit father, which is laughable because I've never been anything but dedicated to my kids. But she's good at twisting things, making herself look innocent while she's the one who's been screwing everyone over. It's infuriating. Sometimes I wonder if I should just walk away, forget the house, forget everything, and start over. But part of me still hopes I can fight back, get some justice, and maybe even make her pay for what she's done. I want her to know she can't get away with this. She's not going to steal my money, ruin my reputation, and then walk free. I've never been one for revenge, but I swear if I could make her suffer just a little, see her lose everything she's stolen, I'd do it in a heartbeat. But I also know I can't let her see me broken. I have to keep my head clear, stay strong for my kids, and figure out the best way to handle this mess. I've learned a lot about trust, and how some people will lie, cheat, and manipulate just to get what they want. I used to believe in honesty, in loyalty. Now I see that some women are just bitches who will do anything to get ahead, even if it means destroying everything in their path. and I've got to find a way to fight back, not just for me but for what's right. After the initial shock wore off, I knew I had to act fast. Amanda's manipulation was only getting worse, and her threats to keep the house and all the money were no joke. She was already spinning her web of lies, trying to paint me as the villain, saying I was unstable and unfit to take care of anything. Meanwhile, she was already planning her next move, probably trying to liquidate assets or hide more money. I couldn't let her get away with it. I started gathering every piece of evidence I could find. Bank statements, emails, texts, even her phone logs. I wanted everything documented, proof that she'd lied, cheated, and stolen from us. I hired a private investigator, which was a last resort, but I needed to know exactly what she was doing behind my back. The investigator found more than I expected. She'd opened multiple secret accounts, transferred huge sums of money, and even booked a vacation with Mark to some tropical island. The whole thing was a well-orchestrated plan, and I was just a pawn in her game. One night, I decided to confront her again. I called her at her office, knowing she'd be there. I told her I had all the evidence, that I wasn't going to let her destroy us. Her voice was cold and dismissive, like she didn't care. She told me I was overreacting, that I was just jealous and insecure. She accused me of being paranoid, of spying on her. I could hear her smirking on the other end, confident that she was winning. But I wasn't about to back down anymore. I told her I was filing for a legal separation immediately. I wanted to freeze her assets, get a court order to stop her from selling or hiding anything else. I also told her I was planning to sue for full custody of the kids and for the house, because I knew she was claiming it was her property now. Her reaction: she yelled at me, called me a loser, and said I'd never get anything. She threatened to ruin me publicly if I dared to go through with it. I could hear the venom in her voice, and I knew she was dangerous. The next morning, I met with my lawyer. We drafted a legal plan to stop her from liquidating any more assets. I also filed for divorce, citing infidelity and financial misconduct. It was a brutal process, but I had to do it. I couldn't let her keep controlling everything. Meanwhile, Amanda was trying to spin her lies to everyone: her family, her friends, even the lawyer she hired. She told everyone I was the bad guy, that I was abusive and untrustworthy. It was infuriating. How can someone be so manipulative? Things escalated when I discovered she'd already transferred most of the stolen money into an offshore account. She was trying to hide it, thinking she could protect herself. But I had the evidence, and I was ready to fight. I contacted the bank, froze her accounts, and started the process of recovering the stolen funds. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about justice. I wanted her to pay for what she'd done. Throughout this chaos, I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger and sadness. I loved her once, or at least I thought I did. But now I see her for what she really is: a manipulative, selfish woman who only cared about herself. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to her lies. Every time I thought about the house, the money, the betrayal, I'd get furious. But I also knew I couldn't let her win. Not like this. One thing I learned is that trust is fragile. I used to believe that honesty was the foundation of a relationship. Now, I see that some people will lie, cheat, and steal right in front of your face, and you'd never know until it's too late. I've also realized that revenge isn't always about hurting someone else. It's about protecting yourself, reclaiming what's yours, and making sure they can't do it again. Amanda thought she could get away with everything because she's smart, but I'm not going down without a fight. So now, I'm preparing for the court case. I've got all my evidence, a solid lawyer, and a plan to hold her accountable. I don't know how this will end, but I do know one thing: I won't let her destroy me. I've lost a lot already, but I still have my kids, my integrity, and enough strength to see this through. The betrayal cuts deep, but I refuse to let her win. Not without a fight. The court date finally arrived after weeks of back and forth, and I was mentally prepared for battle. Everything Amanda had thrown at me, the lies, the manipulation, the theft, was laid out clearly in the evidence I presented. Her attempts to spin her version of the story only made her look more desperate. I sat there, watching her smirk and act confident, but I knew her game. She was trying to look innocent, but her eyes betrayed her. They darted around, avoiding my gaze, knowing she was cornered. The judge listened carefully to both sides. My lawyer laid out the case: the proof of her affair, the stolen money, her false claims about the house, and her secret marriage to Mark. Amanda's lawyer tried to argue she was entitled to everything because she claimed she'd been working hard for years, even though the evidence clearly showed she'd been siphoning funds and planning her escape. Her lawyer also tried to claim I was an unfit parent, which made me laugh bitterly. After everything, she was trying to turn the tables on me. The judge was thorough. She asked Amanda direct questions about the secret marriage, the stolen money, and her claim to the house. Amanda's answers were evasive, full of contradictions and outright lies. She insisted she was the rightful owner of the house, that I'd abandoned her, that she'd been cheated on and was just trying to protect herself. But the evidence told a different story. The bank statements, the emails, the witness statements from the pie, they all painted a picture of a woman who'd planned this entire scheme to get out of our marriage with as much as she could get. When it was my turn, I laid everything out calmly, but inside I was boiling. I told the court about the betrayal, the money she stole, her marriage to Mark, and her attempts to manipulate everyone around her. I explained how she'd lied to me for months, how she'd made me feel crazy for questioning her, and how I'd been left to pick up the pieces of a life she'd shattered. I asked the judge to award me custody of the kids, to freeze her assets, and to declare the house as joint property, not her personal possession. The judge finally made her ruling. She ordered Amanda to return the stolen money, to pay damages, and to cease claiming sole ownership of the house. She also granted me custody of the children, emphasizing that Amanda's manipulative behavior and financial misconduct made her unfit to make decisions for them. Amanda erupted into a tirade, yelling and crying, trying to argue her case, but the judge wasn't having it. Her facade of confidence crumbled, replaced by anger and frustration. Once the court was adjourned, I felt a strange mixture of relief and exhaustion. I had finally fought back, and the truth was out in the open. Amanda's lies had been exposed, and her plans to steal everything were thwarted. But the victory came at a heavy cost. I knew she wouldn't go quietly, and I'd have to stay vigilant. She'd already started threatening me with legal action, claiming she'd appeal the decision, that she'd fight me for everything she thought she deserved. I also had to deal with the aftermath of the money she stole. We managed to recover some of it, but a lot had already been hidden or transferred overseas. I hired a forensic accountant to track what was left and to help me get it back. The whole process was draining, emotionally and financially. I felt like I'd been run over by a truck, but I also felt a strange sense of empowerment. For the first time in months, I felt like I was in control again. Meanwhile, Amanda's bitchy attitude only intensified. She refused to accept defeat gracefully. She called me names, accused me of ruining her life, and threatened to destroy me legally if I didn't back off. I didn't bother responding. I knew her game. She was trying to intimidate me to make me give up. But I wasn't about to let her win that way. I had lawyers, evidence, and a resolve I didn't know I possessed. I realized that this wasn't just about money or the house. It was about standing up to her lies and manipulations. I started to see her for what she truly was: a manipulative, selfish woman who'd do anything for her own benefit. The betrayal cut deep, but I learned a lot from this experience. Trust is fragile, and some people will betray you in ways you never thought possible. I've lost a lot, but I still have my kids, and I refuse to let her take that away from me. I know I'll have to keep fighting, but at least now I have the truth on my side. That's what keeps me going, knowing I didn't let her win without a fight. The weeks after the court ruling felt like walking through a fog. Despite finally winning the legal battle, the emotional toll was immense. Amanda's threats and her bitchy attitude didn't stop. She continued to lash out, trying every trick in the book to undermine me. She called my work, left nasty messages, and even tried to turn the kids against me, claiming I was a terrible father who only cared about money. It was exhausting, but I refused to give in. I had the court's backing, the evidence, and my own resolve. I focused on rebuilding my life piece by piece. I started therapy, not just to deal with the heartbreak, but to get stronger mentally and emotionally. The betrayal had shaken me to my core, but I realized I couldn't let her control my happiness anymore. I also doubled down on my relationship with my kids. I wanted them to see that even when people betray you, you can still stand tall and keep fighting for what's right. I made sure to spend quality time with them, to show them that their dad was still here, still strong. Meanwhile, I kept tracking the money. Amanda had hidden some of the stolen funds overseas, but I worked with investigators and lawyers to recover every cent possible. It was a slow process, but I refused to let her get away with it. I learned that she'd even tried to buy a new house in her name, claiming it was her separate property. But the court had already declared the house as joint, so I filed to have her transfer invalidated. The whole thing felt like a game of chess, and I was determined to win every move. She kept trying to manipulate the situation. She'd send me nasty emails accusing me of ruining her life, saying I was jealous and petty. She even tried to claim I was abusive, which was laughable, considering I'd never raised my voice at her, let alone hit her. But I knew her tactics. She was trying to make me look bad in front of our friends and family, to paint herself as the victim. It almost worked at times, but I stayed focused on the facts. I had the court, the evidence, and the truth on my side. One day, Amanda showed up, unexpectedly at my house, screaming and crying, saying she was sorry and that she wanted to make things right. She begged me to forgive her, said she loved me, and promised she'd change. I looked at her, exhausted and hurt, and realized I'd already given her too many chances. I told her she'd crossed every line possible, that she'd betrayed everything we ever had, and that I couldn't trust her anymore. I told her to leave and never come back. That was the last time I saw her face to face. Since then, I've been focusing on moving forward. I've started seeing a counselor regularly, and I've been working on rebuilding my confidence. The betrayal has left scars, but I refuse to let them define me. I've also been more cautious about who I trust, learning that some people will do anything to get what they want, no matter who they hurt. I've become more aware of red flags, and I'm determined not to fall for someone's lies again. Looking back, I realize how naive I was to trust Amanda so blindly. I believed in honesty and loyalty, but she proved to be nothing but a manipulative liar. The money, the house, the marriage, all of it was a lie she used to get ahead. I've learned that sometimes the people closest to you can hurt you the worst. But I've also learned that you can survive it, that standing up for yourself is the best revenge. Now, I'm just trying to rebuild my life piece by piece. I've got a good job, my kids, and a clearer sense of who I am. I know there will be more challenges ahead, but I'm ready for them. I've realized that revenge isn't just about getting back at her. It's about reclaiming your life, your dignity, and your peace of mind. And that's what I intend to do. I won't let her steal my happiness anymore. I've fought hard for my future, and I plan to make it better without her. Looking back now, I realize how much I've changed through all of this. At first, I was just a guy blindsided by betrayal, angry and broken. But over time, I've found a kind of clarity I never had before. The pain is still there, sure. Those wounds don't heal overnight, but I've learned to live with it. More importantly, I've learned that my worth isn't defined by her lies, her cheating, or her theft. It's about how I pick myself up after being knocked down. One thing I've come to understand is that trust is a fragile thing. When it's broken, it's almost impossible to put back together the way it was. But that doesn't mean life stops. It just means you have to be more careful, more cautious about who you let into your world. Amanda was a lesson I won't forget, one that taught me to listen to my instincts and to value honesty above everything else. As I sit here reflecting on everything, I feel a strange sense of peace. I've lost a lot: my marriage, my sense of security, some of my faith in people, but I've gained something too. I've gained resilience, strength, and a clearer view of what truly matters. My kids, my health, my future. I'm more aware now that people can surprise you in good ways and bad. And I've become more selective about who I trust, who I believe in. The biggest lesson: never ignore the signs. Don't dismiss the little things: secretive phone habits, disappearing money, sudden changes in attitude. Because if I had paid more attention, maybe I could have avoided all this. But then again, maybe some people are just born to deceive and manipulate. Either way, I'm glad I fought for what was right. I didn't let her win. I stood tall, faced the truth, and took control of my life again. To anyone going through something similar, trust me, I get it. It hurts like hell and it's tempting to give up. But stay strong. Gather your evidence, lean on the people who support you, and don't be afraid to fight for what's right. Because at the end of the day, you're the only one who can reclaim your life. No matter how deep the betrayal, there's always a way out. Sometimes, the hardest lessons are the ones that teach us who we really are. So now, I look to the future with a cautious optimism. I know I'll face more challenges, but I also know I'm stronger than I was before. I've survived the worst, and I've come out the other side. The betrayal was a blow, but it also opened my eyes to the kind of person Amanda really is. And it's made me appreciate the good people I have in my life even more. In the end, I'm grateful I found the strength to fight back. I won't forget what she did, but I refuse to let it define me. I'm moving forward, wiser, more cautious, and more determined to build a better life on my own terms. And if there's one thing I want others to take away from all this, it's this: never underestimate your own strength. No matter how dark things get, there's always a way to find the light again.